Hello and welcome everyone to yet another Daily 8 here on the News 8 Live Desk. Phil Penarski here again with the top 8 stories that you need to know today. Let's get right into things as we have a lot to get to. We begin with our first story, which is the latest on an investigation by Grand Rapids Public Schools. Officials with the school district are looking into an incident where a student at Ottawa Hills High School was found in possession of a knife yesterday morning. A letter was sent to parents, and it detailed what we know so far. It stated that there was an early morning fight between students before classes started. Video that was circulating on social media showed parts of the fight and another student pulling a knife out of their backpack before another student and a school security officer stepped in and intervened. No one was injured. That is according to the Ottawa Hills High School principal, Timothy Mabin. Officials are now looking into how exactly the student was able to bring the knife into the building past their metal detectors. A Granville trading card and tabletop games shop is still searching for answers after someone broke in and stole merchandise this past weekend. The Gamers Warf provided surveillance footage to News 8 of the burglary. The suspect is seen breaking into the store and quickly taking items off the shelf and putting them into a bag before leaving. Owners of the shop say that the suspect was able to steal about $20,000 worth of merchandise. They are accepting donations to help recover from the incident at this time. If anyone has information on this burglary, you're asked to contact the Granville Police Department immediately. And now for a story that we have been following since it began back in 1999. That's when Mark Osborne, just 50 days before he turned 18 years old, raped and murdered Jessica Ledford in Highland Park here in Grand Rapids. At the time, he was sentenced to a mandatory life in prison, but after a ruling by the United States Supreme Court found that mandatory life sentences for juveniles was unconstitutional, Osborne was granted a new trial, and during a resentencing yesterday, Osborne has now been sentenced to 40 to 60 years in prison, meaning that he could be out on parole as early as 2039. During his court appearance yesterday, Osborne apologized for his actions and said that he has changed. Ledford's family said that they will be there when Osborne is up for parole in about 15 years. And we have some political news to get to now, as Vice President Kamala Harris and former First Lady Michelle Obama are set to come to Kalamazoo this Saturday for a campaign stop. An exact time and location for the rally has not been announced at this time, but we will let you know as soon as we hear more. This will be the Vice President's second stop in West Michigan in as many weeks. She spoke in Grand Rapids last Friday at Riverside Park. Saturday also marks the start of early in-person voting here in the state of Michigan. Former President Barack Obama and Eminem held a rally in Detroit for the Harris-Walz campaign last night as well. And a federal judge on Tuesday threw out a lawsuit from the Republican National Convention that challenged how Michigan maintains its voter rolls. According to the lawsuit, the RNC claimed that election officials were violating the National Voter Registration Act, which requires them to make a reasonable effort to remove ineligible voters from their rolls. The lawsuit alleged that at least 53 counties in the state of Michigan have more registered voters than adult citizens. However, state officials argued that many people on the rolls were inactive voters and that the NVRA demands certain criteria be met before a voter can be removed from the rolls. Since 2019, the state of Michigan has removed about 1 million voters from its rolls. The federal judge in this case decided that there was no legal standing to the lawsuit and thus dismissed the case. Justin Timberlake has announced he will be rescheduling his upcoming shows here in Grand Rapids and Detroit. The pop star took to social media last night to announce the changes, saying that he has bronchitis and laryngitis and has been suffering that for the past couple of shows. Timberlake was originally supposed to play Little Caesars Arena in Detroit on Friday and Van Andel Arena here in Grand Rapids on November 2nd. The shows have now been moved to February 20th and February 18th, respectively. 6 other city shows have also been rescheduled as well. Now let's take a step aside and get everyone a look at the forecast for today. Here is Storm Teammate meteorologist Scott Larson.
A cold front is cut through, sparking off a lot of wave action on Lake Michigan as we check things out in Grand Haven. The wind is going to stay amped up this afternoon, gusts exceeding 25 miles per hour, and there are still burn bans in place, especially north of I-96. Make sure that you're being cautious, avoiding outdoor burning once again today. Noticeably cooler conditions, highs ranging from the upper 50s into the lower 60s. We have a good shot at rain developing on Friday, and it stays cool for the weekend.
All right, thanks, Scott. And we end today's show with something 13,000 years in the making. You might remember back in 2022 when Mastadon bones were discovered in Kent City. They were brought and housed at the Grand Rapids Public Museum to be put on display for people to see. Now the bones are being 3D scanned, and that will provide insight into the life of this particular mastodon. They've been able to date the creature's death to about 13,210 years ago. Once the scanning is complete, replicas of the bones will be made and put together to form a complete articulated skeleton, which will then be put on display at the Public Museum sometime next fall. All right, well, that is going to do it for us today on the Daily 8. We'll be back again with 8 more stories for you tomorrow. I want to thank everybody so much for tuning into this latest edition of the News 8 Live Desk. I'm Phil Pinarski, and we hope you have a great rest of your day.